Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, well, this is a day that I frankly have been looking forward to, ladies and gentlemen. You see, we have got the official FAQ for Battle Styles. Yeah, that's right. I don't know if anyone else looks forward to the official FAQ. I really do. I love having all of these rulings, so makes me very happy indeed. And to be fair, a lot of people watch these videos. These are always among my more popular videos. So frankly, let's talk about some rulings. And we do need to give a massive shout out as we begin to the lovely folks over at Pokegym.net, especially Pokepop, for providing these rulings that are official rulings. Some people get confused because they come out on Pokegym, not the official site. These are official rulings. So let's take a little bit of a gander and say thank you to Pokegym. So first of all, in this set we have both Single Strike and Rapid Strike Urshifu, and that does of course lead to the fairly obvious question of, well, hang on a second, do they have the same name? No. So you can have 4 Single Strike and 4 Rapid Strike Urshifu in your deck because they're not the same name. They're not called Urshifu and then with some irrelevant subtitle. They are called Single Strike Urshifu and Rapid Strike Urshifu. And for that reason, you are allowed to have 4 of each in your deck. Will you want 4 of each? Probably not. But that does, it opens up the possibility, so we are good. And then another ruling which should be pretty obvious at this stage, but Rapid Strike Urshifu V Max will only evolve from Rapid Strike Urshifu V. You cannot evolve Single Strike Urshifu V into Rapid Strike Urshifu V Max. That, ladies and gentlemen, wouldn't make any sense. There we go. So moving into ability, we've got a new Kingdra in this particular set. The Kingdra's got a really nice ability that says when your active Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack, you may move any amount of water energy from that Pokemon to Kingdra. Okay. So if I've got Kingdra on the bench, and my opponent uses Heatmore's Burning Licks attack, that's the one that lets you flip 2 coins and for each heads you discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon, and discards energy, and then knocks it out, can I have the energy? And the answer is no. Because what happens is, the energy is discarded, and you do the KOing, and then after that, you look to resolve Kingdra's ability, and by the time you look to resolve Kingdra's ability, the energy is no longer there, so cannot be moved over. Sorry. MIMIKYUV has a rather nice ability, Dummy Doll. When you play it from your hand to your bench, you may prevent all damage done to MIMIKYUV via attacks from your opponent's Pokemon until the end of your opponent's next turn. Well, if I play it to the bench and then move it active, does it still keep the protective effect? And the answer is yes. You do keep the effect of the ability just affects that card until the end of the turn. It's not like when you lose an attack effect when you go from the active back to the bench and then come back active, we generally refer to it as a new Pokemon. This will stick until the end of the turn, which obviously makes the card significantly better than it would have been otherwise. If my MIMIKYUV with Dummy Doll protection is moved to or from my bench, such as Boss's Orders or something along those lines, does it lose the protection? And the answer again is no. You keep the protection until the end of the turn. Generally speaking, when you move in and out of the active, any effects kind of reset because you're a new Pokemon. That is not the case here. It is an effect from an ability, not an attack. So it is not removed by moving to or from the bench. And that's the key point here. It comes from an ability, not from an attack. Now, Kricketune V is one of my very, very favourite cards in the set here. It's got the awesome ability Exciting Stage. Once during your turn, you may draw until you got 3 cards in hand. If you're active, you may draw until you got 4 cards in hand instead. Does going to the bench reset it? I.e., can I go to the bench and then use it again? No. Even if it, because this is another one of those abilities like a lot of the ones that draw cards recently that are limited to once during your turn. You can only use 1 Exciting Stage ability per turn. even if you've got two different Kricketune V, even if your active Kricketune V goes to the bench, it's not an effect, it is a game state check. I.e., you are checking, has this player already used one of these abilities? And if the answer is yes, that's all that's important. You'll not be able to use another one during this turn. Sorry and gutted, I suppose. Now, probably my favourite card in the set, definitely one of them, is Victini V Max. I adore Victini V Max. I will be making decks built around it. And that's because it's got the rather awesome attack, Max Victory. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon V, you do 220 damage, otherwise you only do 100. For what it's worth, the new Victini V here, which is not as good as the one from Sword and Shield, and you should play the one from Sword and Shield, but that has the attack V-Bullet, which does 60 to a Pokemon V, 10 to a non-Pokemon V. So the question, of course, then becomes, well, alright, does a V Max count as a Pokemon V? And the answer is yes. And we don't really need a ruling on this. It's in the rulebook. Pokemon V Max are considered Pokemon V. I like to think of it as Pokemon V Max are a subset of Pokemon V. All Pokemon V Maxes are Pokemon Vs, but only some Pokemon Vs are also V Maxes. You will do the extra damage. Although, to be clear, this Victini is good against Vs, not so good against V Maxes. Their HP is a little bit high. Now, we got a new Cacturne coming in this particular set. It's got the attack Pull. For one colourless energy, switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. Who chooses which Pokemon to become active? You do. The attacking player chooses. The general rule with attacks like this is, if it says, switch one of your opponent's Pokemon, you get to choose. If, however, it read something along the lines of, your opponent switches our active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. You can see this in Sword and Shield with cards like Hoot Hoot and Yamper. Because it says your opponent switches, they get to make the choice as to which of the Pokemon is switched. Here, because it says switch, it is basically saying you make the choice, you are doing the switching. So always look for that kind of language. If it says switch, it's your choice. If it says your opponent switches, then although you can make them switch, they will then have the choice of which Pokemon actually ends up getting switched. That's how you tell the difference. We've also got a ruling here about Tapu Bulu's push down, which you're going to see where we're going with this in a second. So Tapu Bulu's got the push down attack, 1 grass energy, 20 damage. Your opponent switches our active Pokemon with one of their bench. Well, from the discussion we've just had, you know, your opponent gets to choose, not you. Now, there is a new Licky coming in this particular set, and it has got the weirdly named Select. For free energy, your opponent chooses to discard the top 3 cards of their deck, or to discard 3 cards from their hand. Can I choose the option to discard from my hand if I have fewer than 3 cards in my hand? The answer is, if you have no cards in your hand, then you've got to discard from the deck. But if you've only got 1 or 2 cards in your hand, you can choose either option. I.e., you've got to have some cards in hand to be able to choose, but you do not need 3 cards in hand to be able to choose. As long as you've got 1 card in hand, that will do, ladies and gentlemen. That will do. Of course, this doesn't really open up much of a cheat, because if you've only got, like, 2 cards in hand, are you really going to want to discard them both and leave yourself with a 0-card hand? A lot of the time, the answer will be no. Now, finishing off with trainer cards here, we need to take a little bit of a look at Cheryl. Cheryl is a rather phenomenal new supporter card, which I expect to see a whole bunch of play. It heals all damage from each of your evolution Pokemon, and then if you do, you discard all energy from the Pokemon that were healed in this way. When you play Cheryl, can you choose not to heal one of your Pokemon to avoid discarding the energy? Because if you heal, you've got to discard the energy, and the answer is no. All Pokemon with damage counters on that are evolved Pokemon, not basic, because, you know, the wording, will be healed, and all Pokemon that are healed will have their energy discarded. Obviously, Pokemon with energy on evolved, but no damage won't lose the energy because they've not been healed. So, sorry ladies and gentlemen, that's why a card like Bronzong in this set is so good. If you can move your metal energy to a undamaged evolved Pokemon or to a basic, you can then play Cheryl and not lose any energy while healing up. Unfortunately, not every deck has that option. And finally, we have both Mustard Single Strike and Mustard Rapid Strike. Can you have 4 of each of them in your deck, or is it 4 Mustard in total? The answer is you can have 4 of each, because the card isn't called Mustard, it's called Single Strike Style Mustard and Rapid Strike Style Mustard. You could compare that to something like Professor's Research. If we look at Professor's Research from Sword and Shield, it is called Professor's Research, and then it's got Magnolia as a subtitle, but the card is called Professor's Research. And then we can look at Shining Fates, and you've got Professor's Research with Juniper as a subtitle, but it's called Professor's Research. That's why you can have 4 of each Mustard, but only 4 in total of Professor's Research. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. One more shout out to the lovely folks over at Pokegym, especially Pokepop, for providing the official FAQ and letting us all know these rulings. And like I've said, if you're going to be playing the Pokemon trading card game with battle styles legal, you're going to need to know these rulings. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all of these rulings. I want to know which ones you like, which ones you don't like. I want to know if you've got any lingering questions. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.